might lead to a very aggressive draft, trying to take enemy Pokemon away in this exact screen as we get into the draft of game number 1.
Yes, we do. And Zoinks, you were talking about strategy, and it starts with the ban phase. Umbreon on the side of Tuzzy Esports plus a potential Hooper, and that Orange side, Darkrai ban, 75% ban rate.
All right, this is the first question. What do we ban? And it's going to be a respect ban to fall immediately. Blaziken not allowed in that game after the offense of the previous matchups. Not going to happen. Now, I was questioning if the Miraidon was going to potentially be a ban choice, especially with how Jean Deco has been playing so far this tournament. Instead, it's going to be Haas, but it will be a Blissey first pick for Tuzzy Esports. Lel, a phenomenal Eldegoss, is going to go with the Blissey first pick. A pretty big surprise to me.
I really like this actually because you can go for your usual soft boiled depending on the rest of your composition. But if you can and have a chance to potentially fit in that Mewtwo Y that we saw previously.
That's a great point.
Exactly. You can just switch up with your held items into that Safeguard and Helping Hand, and that is just all good. The Miraidon you mentioned comes through for Plaga alongside a Mimikyu.
Okay, so one team going with the school of thought of the Miraidon. I think you are dead on with Tuzzy Esports, most likely leading into a play pattern of the Mewtwo Y plus the Blissey. Two very powerful attackers in their own right. We'll have to see how that matchup actually plays out. Double Defender is the next selection for Tuzzy Esports. Max has showcased a few Pokemon they like to bring into the top path, named way. Interesting stuff. Kira on Praga has showcased that they are potentially a top in the world level defender player on any Pokemon you give them, on the Mamoswine, on the Trevenant, things like that. But Sauto is right behind, and I think the most exciting thing about this matchup in particular is they share a very similar Pokemon pool. A lot of Mamo, a lot of Trevenant, and then even Snorlax. So there is going to be very similar strategies, which might lead to a very aggressive draft, trying to take enemy Pokemon away in this exact screen as we get into the draft of game number 1.
Yes, we do. And Zoinks, you were talking about strategy, and it starts with the ban phase. Umbreon on the side of Tuzzy Esports plus a potential Hooper, and that Orange side, Darkrai ban, 75% ban rate.
All right, this is the first question. What do we ban? And it's going to be a respect ban to fall immediately. Blaziken not allowed in that game after the offense of the previous matchups. Not going to happen. Now, I was questioning if the Miraidon was going to potentially be a ban choice, especially with how Jean Deco has been playing so far this tournament. Instead, it's going to be Haas, but it will be a Blissey first pick for Tuzzy Esports. Lel, a phenomenal Eldegoss, is going to go with the Blissey first pick. A pretty big surprise to me.
I really like this actually because you can go for your usual soft boiled depending on the rest of your composition. But if you can and have a chance to potentially fit in that Mewtwo Y that we saw previously.
That's a great point.
Exactly. You can just switch up with your held items into that Safeguard and Helping Hand, and that is just all good. The Miraidon you mentioned comes through for Plaga alongside a Mimikyu.
Okay, so one team going with the school of thought of the Miraidon. I think you are dead on with Tuzzy Esports, most likely leading into a play pattern of the Mewtwo Y plus the Blissey. Two very powerful attackers in their own right. We'll have to see how that matchup actually plays out. Double Defender is the next selection for Tuzzy Esports. Max has showcased a few Pokemon they like to bring into the top path, namely Ceruledge, and now this Greedent that we have seen again and again. A lot of success from this player on this Pokemon. But that Glaceon might be the stuff of nightmares. Darkrai's banned, but Glaceon from Jax has been wild this tournament.
Yeah, it just makes everybody freeze on their stands, and to be honest, on this side for Tuzzy, I wouldn't be... Oh, right, we have an Inteleon.
Okay, I mean, Inteleon has not seen very much play in this tournament at all, only sitting at 5%. We have seen primarily the Snipe Shot build, which I think that will be a repeat. Kira on their iconic Trevenant. This is interesting, with the ability to block Mewtwo Y into this composition. They are going to leave it on the table and instead lock in the James Pond.
Yeah, we have the Pikachu on the side of Tuzzy Esports that I think wraps up really well considering how we have been seeing them play. A little versatility that you can have with Thunder or going into Road Tackle. To be honest, we've seen mostly Road Tackle in yesterday and day 2 today. But on the side of Plaga, this is such a strong composition because of the highlights you mentioned there on the Glaceon in the early game. Miraidon, that just can do so much, either the Electro Drift or going Charge Beam. The Mimikyu as well that has been constantly in the bends, instead is going to get picked here. And overall, Trevenant is a solid defender, but when you have Eldegoss with it, you just heal that much more.
Exactly. So this feels like one of the first times that we've seen a good, honest front-to-back composition from both of these teams. We have the Pikachu and Teleon on one side, Miraidon, Glaceon on another. There is going to be so much constant poke damage from both of these rosters that they're going to have to try to play around. I mean, the healers have their work cut out for them in this matchup.
Yes, they do. And it's funny you mentioned that because it's usually the play that we have that is not front to back includes the speedsters, right? Because they want to go for the flanks. We've seen plenty of Dodrio, and sometimes the Leafeon one is not banned as well. So all of those options are interesting. But when you go back to the basics, that front to back you mentioned, Tuzzy Esports versus Plaga in your first game of your best of 5 semi-finals, deciding who will be tomorrow on Championship Sunday.
I mean, there's certainly a lot of heart on one side, but there's a lot of energy and skill on the other. This is going to be an extremely challenging match for either one of these rosters. Max on this Squovet does get the first score of the game, and therefore gets their double stacking online already. But an aggressive response from Plaga has put this early Glaceon evolution into the enemy side, and Texas on this Gossifleur sporting the red buff will be slowing the enemies with every single auto attack due to that, as well as Eldegoss's passive ability of the Cotton Down.
And you just love that. At least I do. I don't know about you, Zoinks, but I just love that attack based not just on the held items, but usually on the play style, like you mentioned, with the red buff and the passive, just going for the attacks and just making it work. 3v3 here on the top path as it turns into a 4v3 to Plaga as they guarantee most of that. No, actually, we have Greedent taking that one, but might be paying that with going to pay a visit to the doctor in the Pokemon Center, but it doesn't happen. It's going to get delayed. It's going to be instead a Chansey who gets taken down, and Plaga with just them getting here now. John Deco a little bit late to the party, Zoinks.
Yeah, they'd slowly rotate to the top, but I mean, Max is going to go down as well. Lel kind of punished for body blocking a lot of the Icicle Shards in that early fight, and unfortunately could not sustain against the aggressive damage that Plaga was able to follow up. But there's the response immediately. Fob on a total roll swap onto a Pikachu with the Volt Tackle. So we are confirming kind of the lock 'em down build. I think the energy amplifier on Pikachu makes a lot of sense there. I think they're also rocking the Buddy Barrier in this item build. So Pikachu wants that extra shield whenever they dive in, and every time they dive in with Volt Tackle, they want to be thunderstorming.
Yes, they do. Looking at the Icicle Spears here, coming now from the side of Plaga, this Glaceon can always do so much in the early game, but check that Inteleon on level 7, 6 for both Pikachu and the Greedent as well on the side of Tuzzy.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very even matchup, and I know there's not as many team fights as maybe we've been getting in matches past, but with these front-to-back compositions, that's what we're looking at. Both teams essentially playing a poke composition, but a Volt Tackle could change all that as Froy is locked down.
Wow, the Mimikyu just completely combusted. But when you have Charge Beam as well on your side, Greedent is going to get slowed and taken down, followed up by the Pikachu. So it's a 3-for-0 on the top side for Plaga.
Yeah, this Glaceon Miraidon damage duo is truly terrifying. And with Max only level 6 on the Greedent, they don't really have any backline pressure to displace them. So the Miraidon and Glaceon can play very far forward without fear of getting knocked back or locked down by any Pokemon on the other side, bar maybe the Pikachu.
Top path, we have the LAIC taken because of that push. The Plaga guaranteed taking that tier 1. Many of those knockouts. Although that was the case, Tuzzy still wandering around the map a little bit, just maybe trying to get the central area experience instead of going straight to that basement Regizoinks.
Yeah, Tuzzy got a lot of catching up to do in that regard. Also in the scoring pattern, though. The good news for them is the objectives start to spawn. They do have some great secure options, namely in that snipe shot Inteleon. First chance of the game to try to do so will come up a little bit short as Miraidon knocks out that wild Pokemon a little too quick.
Yeah, Ice Shot is just really following them around with the Icicle Spears to finish the damage as well. While they are going with the Meteor Storm, they are looking very much comfortable. 3v2 turns to a 4v2, and Plaga just completely obliterates this top bottom path.
Yeah, Froy goes for, or sorry, not Froy, Falb goes for a Volt Tackle onto the Glaceon to try to lock them down, but due to that Snow Cloak passive still being available, they're able to walk away from that hindrance completely scot-free and still keep free firing the Icicle Shards into the back line. Right now, Fraga's got really the answer to everything that Tuzzy Esports wants to do. They have such a lack of engage on their team outside of this Greedent and maybe a kind of a greedy eject button slow bro play. Tuzzy Esports is going to have a hard time finding the front door.
Definitely. Front door is looking a little far away considering that Plaga honestly has been doing a great job overall up until this point in taking advantage of that top to bottom rotation and into going into enemy territory. But now Tuzzy finds themselves in a little bit of a wave of calm, and they can try to get that EXP back that you mentioned they need as well.
Yeah, we've now hit the midway point of the match, so Unite moves are going to be available for basically every Pokemon at next big at the team fight situations. We know these teams are experts at farming and making sure they use them at the right time, so you can imagine those yellow dots are going to be available. Notably though, Freud does not have the play with me, and a great body block of the Shadow Sneak by Soto on this Slowbro. One of the best things you can do as a defender in the Mimikyu matchup is always be in front of them so the Shadow Sneak cannot hit your back line. Great coverage by Soto, but at first base, it'll be Blissey picking it up and Trevenant from behind.
Oh my what? Look at that flame coming out with the Trevenant. As you said, Zoinks, and it's going to do so much work for Plaga, but you still have your Bliss assistance for Tuzzy Esports that goes into the back line and helps them out. But on your screen here, you have actually Eldegoss just farming away, going for the Inteleon, but it's not going to be enough. They're going to have to kite back from the Trevenant as they still need to get away from the charge beam. They do. They still have a slingshot that could get them to safety even further, so they are going to escape, but the LAIC is Plagas.
Yeah, that will be their fight win. I mean, a lot of trades both ways, so the experience is going to get a little wild, but definitely the objective and scoring pressure are in the hands of Plaga. So, great push by them, and this could be walking towards tier 2, but again, they don't have a lot of pushing pressure. I was talking about Tuzzy Esports composition not having a lot of engage. Same could be true by Plaga, but they made up for it with an amazing rotation. Kira's Trevenant goes on this huge flank and is able to horde unleash from behind. You don't need to find the front door. When the back door, you got keys.
You do have keys, and you have full X's, completely unlimited there, Plaga. I literally just saw that whole leech coming through, and I was like, yes. This is how it turns it around, and it was so well executed. Now, over the wall goes here with a jump pad, but you need to be careful. Although Greedent can escape, can they escape just this enough? Buddy barrier on their Storm that comes from Pikachu can help quite a bit. Belch is going to do some damage as well, but the Wood Hammer will just get them to be a little bit slower, and the eject button might have just saved Kira. But still, look at the Miraidon. They are very low considering they need to take a berry. They're still going to be standing, but that Trevenant is down.
Oh man, this fight just took a little bit too long to put pressure on Dawnlux. I mean, Max absolutely popping off in that fight. 2 KOs with that Greedent. The Unite move making that cooldown almost immediate on those Belches again and again. I don't want to make that sound, our other commentators already did that for us, but it was absolutely crushing it in that fight. But they get to the goal zone, and the pressure that Tuzzy's been feeling up until this point of the game, it makes them want to score on these goal zones, and they just simply cannot with that long-range charge beam from Miraidon. Great goal zone coverage, and Plaga is going to be holding on to this lead headed into our final stretch.
Going to the top path is what they are doing. 15 seconds, but it will be shy of 12 seconds of a difference between that and Rayquaza. They are definitely going to go for a heavy position there. If they can take it down, that would be huge for them. Now, looking at Tuzzy, they're just going for the Eos energy, just going for the EXP, and the gauges on. They use the Unite moves. LAIC will be taken down here by Plaga, so there's going to be a little bit of extra lead for the Orange team.
Yeah, there's still a couple of absent Unite moves before this team fight. Eldegoss not going to have theirs. Greedent did just finally charge that one up. I'm sure Lel's going to be on the fast track to making that one happen, but Kira going to body block the slipshot to protect Texas's Eldegoss.
Snapshot's doing quite some damage even to the frontliners, as you just said. Shindeko doing well at that, but you need still to be careful because on the other end, you have the charge beams. Careful, you have, oh my word! The slow beam goes straight into the Eldegoss, and that Volt Tackle just tackles the Glaceon. It's huge. The Meteor Storm might be able to slow it down for Plaga, but it looks like this is Tuzzy's. As they're going into the backline, the Belt will do damage onto the Miraidon. The only person really standing is the Trevenant. Kira trying to escape, but it's a 1v4, and they can survive for a little bit. You know how much sustain this Pokemon has, but it's not gonna be it.
Okay, Kira is gonna go down. 2 KO streak for Lel getting involved in that fight. The Blissey Pops earning them a few KOs. Now, Plaga's only win condition in this match is to out-secure the Rayquaza. Cotton Cloud Crash sky high. They have stopped hitting the Ray right now, and Inteleon Sunshot is impossible to be body blocked when Lel and Salto are in the way. Tuzzy Esports, with a real tough time in the early game, have found a way to come back.
Easy and completely restrained play there when he saw the Cloud Crash, as you said. Stop hitting, don't aggro, don't rip, because that cooldown is just gonna come off in just a little bit. The timing was perfect. You have your dunks, and although Plaga had that much points, oh, almost around 200. You have your Hunterburgers, you have your Rayquaza Shield, and Zoinks. This is looking mighty good for Tuzzy in this best of 5.
Yeah, this is the win condition that we talked about for Tuzzy Esports composition, was the secures. Inteleon a lot better than anything that Plaga had on the table. A great slow beam engage from Soto is followed up by a perfect thunderstorm from Fulb. Fulb truly doing it on any class of Pokemon in this tournament. All-rounder, defender, attacker. Fulb can do it all, and Tuzzy Esports is starting our series 1-0.
This is the start that we were looking for. The crowd is cheering for you, Tuzzy Esports. You are 1-0 up, and this series has just begun. Best of 5s will take at least 3 games, but we know that Plaga was already doing so well in this game that Kira played earlier. That is something that you need to be for. The best of 5 just already feels so dang good. Now, Tuzzy starting on the purple side because Plaga actually chose orange.
Okay, electing for the orange side. Not too worried about their bans. I think this is probably a deny the Miraidon strategy. I think that is what Plaga wants to lean into. Last time in this position, Tuzzy Esports was picking up the Blissey with that first pick. We'll see if that happens again. Otherwise, it is going to be that Blaziken repeat ban. Plaga feeling pretty good about that. And honestly, with how the first 8 minutes of the match went, I don't think you can be too upset with it either. I feel like running it back is the correct decision. Lel going to pick up the Blissey with this first pick. So again, a repeat of what we have had in the draft up until this point. And we're going to keep things straight up. Donlux and Froy locked in on their iconic picks of this tournament. Mimikyu at 25% Ray picked overall, and Miraidon at 53%. So much Miraidon.
Yeah, we're looking at a Greedent potentially coming here from Max once again, and it does. With the Slowbro, we might be having just a solid running back here, which, to be fair, worked out for Tuzzy, but we also know that Plaga just headed up there for most of the game as well. Power on power.
Yeah, let's not get it twisted. That was Plaga's game to lose going into that final stretch. I mean, they were absolutely dominating for the majority of that matchup. Tuzzy was really struggling, but they found an opening. A couple of them near the end were able to pull it back, but the confidence has not been dissuaded in either of these teams in current compositions. This is where I do think you might see some flex. Jean Deco is hovering the Inteleon, which they played last game. You could counterpick the Glaceon away from Jax, which has been an iconic pick for them throughout our tournament. But it does look like we have a small issue on stage. I'm not sure if that will dissuade our draft or if it won't. We'll get word from production on that. But either way, we'll treat this draft like it is happening right now in front of us. Plaga with their final pick, hovering the Glaceon. Have to imagine that'll be happening again, which will be an identical draft for our game number 2.
Mirror matchup is what we call it, and it's very, very interesting considering both teams are just considering we did well. Plaga had the lead. Tuzzy, we did well. We got it back. We got the win. So in this case, what do you think could go differently for both sides that could change the pace of it all? Because Plaga had it well in the beginning, but then just fumbled the ball a little bit.
Yeah, I think Texas is going to play a little bit safer against a defender the caliber of Soto. I really do think you cannot disrespect what the slow beam can do in some of these team fight interactions, so you got to play around it a bit better. However, the early game, I don't think there's any changes that need to be made. I like this 4-player rotation from Plaga into the early game on the top side, especially with Kira's Trevenant. Even if there's still that Phantom, you saw them be a relevant factor at that first showing. I do think if Plaga wants to, kind of tune up any moments throughout their match, it is slowing down Max's Greedent a little bit, which has been devastating for teams to deal with, and Max has been absolutely popping off with that Pokemon. So I think we're going to see a lot of good Greedent play 2 games in a row.
Yes, we will, and it's so interesting as well because into LAIC, I thought we were going to be seeing quite a lot of Greedent. Yesterday, not that much. Today, much more present, which, to be honest, I appreciate. That battle just is doing so much damage right now, and the usual nuisance that you have. Game 2 is on your screen. Tuzzy Esports on the purple side, Plaga on your orange. And how are things going to fare in an identical matchup?
Yeah, let's run it back. Let's see if the results will be different. Something definition of insanity. Who knows? But we are headed into the battlefield. Texas will roam towards that red buff yet again, and we've been seeing this all tournament long. The blue buff over to the attacker, especially when you have an evolution in the central area.
Topside, very interesting here with the already very fast rotation from Jax on this Glaceon. The Electro Web doing some work on the Glossifleur, but you still need to be careful considering the level 4 means Ice Cold Spear, and it does damage. Froy was already there, so it helps out them wrap it up. 55 to 80 on this point. Now on this goal is already how much they got themselves ahead.
Yeah, that's a tough one to lose, too. I mean, losing the Pikachu because of the Squovet tackling away from the Icicle Shards, couldn't body block anymore. And now that means that Froy has a red buff on this Mimikyu as well as the Eldegoss. That is a lot of slowing effects in this early game they're going to have to contend with. Not to mention the X speed was already used by Max in that first little interaction on the contestable ball toy.
Altaria taken as well here on the top side, and full focus of this three-person rotation that has stuck around for a while bot side has been just a little bit quieter. And interestingly enough, we didn't see that four-person rotation from Plaga, just like game one.
Yeah, I think they wanted to get a little bit more experience on Kira. Looking at the levels in the bottom path, I think it's been going great for Tuzzy Esports. I think Jean Deco's Inteleon is going to be fast approaching. On the other hand, Miraidon only at level 5. Dawnlux hunting for those level 7 spots.
Yeah, and Texas is very much interested in going in a 1v1 against the Blissey, because you know how much the Eldegoss can do. Now getting to that 8-minute mark, and with the Greedent finally turning into Greedent on that level 5, they are pushing out here for the central area. Soto might be taken down with the Icicle Spears, and they do. The Altaria is still standing, but in a very bad spot is the Blissey. 2 KO Shriek goes to the Glaceon, and this looks to be Plaga's to take.
Yeah, just a really good fast rotation. They outpaced Tuzzy Esports in a major way. You saw Max showing up at the very end of that engagement, but unfortunately a 1v5 situation would not benefit them at all. Sauto will help this defense. It's a 4-player defense right now. Texas will have a difficult time escaping, but not when they got the backup from Froy. Big Shadow Claw to take down the Slowbro, and all of a sudden Praga feeling a little bit good about how they're running back to the goal zone.
Joneko has arrived as well, so backup is here. Vote tackle to take them, make them into place. The snipe shot does land on the Eldegoss, but it's not going to be just quite enough to finish them off. Froy going on for the Blissey, but they're not going to commit any further at this point with the level 7 that you had already for the Glaceon and the Inteleon. I think just Plaga utilized those power spikes a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean, they're playing their early game lead really well. Lel is able to avoid that Shadow Sneak, so no danger onto the Inteleon. That means that John Deco can try to out-secure this Regieleki with a snipe shot. We've seen that happen before. Everybody getting in the way of the body block. Yeah, I think Praga has learned their lesson. 4 players jump in front of that red line, and they're going to be pushing this Regieleki towards Tier 1.
Yes, they do. It collapses, and it's going to be an overdunk. Oh. Well, ooh, a perfect 1 into a 29 overdunk. Huge for Plaga now on 109 to 43. Rotation that comes from the orange team just as well, going into the actual, not going for bottom Reggie, and actually going for a full-on push on Tier 2.
Yeah, Tuzzy Esports are going to split because of this. We're going to have the Greedent into the enemy central area. Now we see this push onto the top side. It will be Inteleon getting 1 KO, but can't get a whole lot more. Jean Deco is going to defend the goal zone, but that is so many points that have already rained into that Tier 2. Right now, Praga could lose 3 members and still consider that fight worth it.
It feels like the same strategy that you had there for Plaga on game 1 remains on game 2, but just a little more aggressive, just a little bit faster. Tuzzy Esports going to the bot side to take down that red Giants. It's going to be uncontested, so for them at least they guarantee a trade of objectives overall, but their zones, they were exposed, although they also did that to the side of Plaga. In the bot side, just the amount that was dealt there with the 174 is just, well, 72 more.
Yeah, exactly. Them numbers. Ooh, Max will get locked down by Cure for a whole long time, and that is so much poke damage. Even a Bliss assistance isn't enough to turn the tides of that little mini fight. That skirmish. Lel is going to run back to the goal zone, but this is a push by Praga. Look it up. I don't know if they know they're in that tall grass, but now they do.
Yeah, sneaky vote shackle, and you're going to have to pop your Cotton Cloud Crash, getting you away, but also knocking the enemies up. The Meteor Stone will have quite a bit for the side of Plaga. The first KO in this fight goes to Jean Deco. They're sniping them away, but the Phantom Forest also comes through on the side of Plaga. That is Dawnlux in the middle of everybody, but they end up escaping. But how so, Zoinks?
I can't believe it. I mean, I was about to start criticizing the whole point of Dawnlux sticking around and backing up Kira, but they're both walking away from this fight. That's ridiculous. An eject button with that charge beam gets so much damage, and wow, what a team fight there for Praga. Now, so let's talk talk a moment about how we get here into a battlefield like this, where the identical compositions from game 1 to game 2, and honestly feels a little bit like confirmation bias. Plaga saying, we don't need to change anything, our early game was dynamite, we were winning, and then Tuzzy Esports won, so they're like, we don't need to change anything, and honestly, I don't really know if I believe it in the way of Tuzzy Esports, but they are still in this matchup in a major way. 140 points, they are not behind by a large margin, and they are catching up at EXP in a few major spots. Namely, they have a Pikachu who is the level leader in the lobby.
Oh, level 12, great highlight there. Well, you have still level 11s for Plaga, looking very equal overall. In level 12, that also comes through for Jandeco and the Inteleon, so this fight will be interesting. Thunderstorm straight onto the back, and that is the Mimikyu down, followed up is the Eldegoss, and finally, Tuzzy is sniping them down. Go Jandeco, you can follow them and you can just take it. That is a hit and a half, 3 KO streak for Jandeco.
I know we're playing a MOBA, but that was kind of a 360 no-scope there for Jandeco. Didn't even charge that last snipe shot, just immediately from the hip, and able to take out for that final KO streak of 4 for Jandeco. I mean, when you are Bliss assistancing an Inteleon who goes on to frontline, I think Tuzzy Esports has found some momentum in this composition. Yet another basement Reggie goes to their side. This time a Reggie Rock buff, and for a double defender comp, that's huge.
Nice go shot there to take down Slowbro, but now Tuzzy Esports is feeling mighty confident in their team fight skills, in that team fight power spikes, and just in the level of accuracy on the snapshots from Jandeco. Now getting caught up here, between a rock and a hard place, one might say. Going down is the greed, and with 10 seconds to go for Reggie LAIC, that doesn't bode well.
Yeah, this is going to be a really difficult one for Tuzzy Esports to play. They basically have to give it up, even more so now, as their support will go down. Honestly, not a huge plan at all. You actually want to get knocked out in that situation as the Blissey. You only have 30 seconds into the final stretch, and you get a whole lot of Unite move charge by getting KO'd. Oftentimes, you will see the supports run into the enemy line at this 230 mark, so that's why we're seeing that happen.
Yep. Belch straight into the backline as well, forcing now the Carbon Cloud Crash. There's also Meteor Storm to lock them in place, but Tuzzy still standing, going out for this backline, and they take down the Mimikyu. Could go for even more Zoinks, but they are trying to follow them into enemy territory. It looks like it's a little too dangerous. A charge beam might take the Greedent down. It's almost there, but they are escaping. They run and they run.
No shot. Unbelievable. I should say straight shot as Inteleon is able to take down that Trevenant. That is 2 Pokemon down. That Mimikyu going down earlier on in that fight is now going to make Tuzzy Esports have a very clear angle towards this next team fight. Miraidon, Eldegoss, Glaceon, that is a fragile group of Pokemon. If they can make this dive happen now, it'd be huge, but they're electing to get Fall the Thunderstorm back, sending the Pikachu into their own central area to farm and get some EXP. Falb really needs to get this Thunderstorm. They got the energy amplifier. It should come quick.
And it should be okay as well with his knife shot just to zone Plaga away from the central area. But you are now charged up. The gauge is there with the Thunderstorm and going onto the back line. Mimikyu does not make good use of it. The Thunderstorm, as we mentioned, is there with the Glacial Stage just on top of it. But look at the 2 KO streak. Jandeco is on fire. Make it 3. Continue there on the back line. And Tuzzy Esports is on fire. This is going to be an ace and a 2-0 for Tuzzy confirmed. Is this it, Zoinks?
Jandeco cannot miss. This man has hit every snipe shot that we have ever seen. Also, I'm looking at the player camps. It's the funniest thing on earth to see Lel going calm down. Of all players, maybe the best pop-offs we've ever had in recorded Pokemon Unite history. We're going to want to be like, guys, we got this, we got this. But Jandeco with a hero play there on the Inteleon. We were trying to call out that Mimikyu play, so that you said they didn't get much use out of. They found the Inteleon with the Shadow Sneak, and Lel, frame 1, Blissey Unite moves to that Inteleon. They cannot lose their hard carry on this Pokemon, and it pays off huge. Jandeco walks away with 3, Max with 2, and like you called, a team ace, and Tuzzy is up 2.
Oh, this is match point for Tuzzy Esports and the chance for Brazil to be on Championship Sunday for LAIC 2025 in São Paulo, Brazil. This is a historical moment of Pokemon Unite, and Zoinks, you and I, and you in the audience, and everybody watching, you are a part of it. it.
That is true. Now, I think I do need to play my role of the biased caster here a little bit. This is still a matchup that we are going into, but yes.
Right. That Pikachu was so great, especially with the energy amplifier, right? And because you're running that bloody barrier as well, you're just making sure that everybody survives on top of having that Blissey, one of the best supporters right now, the Slowbro. So everything was very well coordinated. And I see a smile on your face. You want to talk to me, Lawrence?
No, I was just trying to look over the shoulder of this player to see what the draft's looking like so far, because I think we are into the draft of Game 3. We are going to be cutting over to it, and unfortunately, no cool UI for this one, but we are going to get to the draft still. So Darkrai going to be first man, LAIC, Umbreon the others. I think it is fair to say that it will be a repeat of the Hoopa Man. We're not too sure. Either way, Umbreon, Zashi, and Venusaur being covered right now. I doubt we see that one again.
Right, so we have confirmation as well that on the side of Tuzzy, it's a Darkrai and Hoopa ban.
Okay, great.
So it makes quite a lot of sense. Interesting on that Blaziken as well, which is also very well targeted to foul.
I know.
So this guy is just popping off. But Jandeko, such a highlight and MVP for that match, absolutely.
And but now on a new build, we're seeing a totally new draft, folks. Game 3 is when we shift it all up. It'll be Umbreon first pick from Kira, which they've been on this Revenant, absolutely dominating in a couple of these games. Haven't really found that same spice in this matchup in particular, so a change felt necessary. Froy as well, going back to this Blastoise, which I think they have had so much success with, so I can't really criticize it at all. And Lel is back on the Clefable.
Oh, all right. Yeah, you have Blissey band, Hoopa band. Well, the other side had Eldegoss. That's the next best thing, is it not? You're going to go for the heals, and with the Miraidon, you also need to be, in this case, we were seeing it in eject button, so if it is Jandeko on that, it would be a charge beam. And are we looking at double beam? Is this it?
Ooh, that would be really interesting. It's a lot of poke damage. Both these teams do like that front-to-back strategy that you and I were talking about, so, but, I mean, the Pikachu is going to return to the battlefield. I do think the Clefable is most likely in response to how much Glaceon that we have seen. Glaceon is one of the best Pokemon in the entire game. When those compositions were really, really powerful, I'm thinking like EUIC a year ago was maybe where that composition was the strongest. Clefable was one of the best Pokemon in that metagame at mitigating that damage. Poke damage is really great when you got an AoE heal that is tremendous, that can hit multiple targets, right? You can really try to fight fire with healing.
Yeah, and you have a good amount of HP as well on the Clefable, so it makes quite a lot of sense. You can heal them, you can tank and block a couple of the shards yourself, and if they are going for Icy Wind, you can just use Gravity. So it's a win-win.
Exactly. You got lots of options to work with here. So we're going to be jumping into Game 3 very soon. It's exciting to see a brand new draft between these two teams. I mean, we've been seeing the same thing, run it back twice, and I do think that it was on Praga to actually change things around in the first place, right? You know, you're down 2-0. You got to make some kind of swing if you want to make it to Championship Sunday. Ooh, spooky teams. All right, they're back. They're back. I'm not afraid anymore.
To be fair, it just looked like what I see when I don't have my glasses on.
Yes.
Yeah, but also very spooky.
That is true. That is true. All right. Well, like we said, we are in a win or go home situation for Tuzzy Esports after 2 incredible games. And here we go. LAIC, game number 3, Tuzzy Esports versus Plaga.
Match point for Tuzzy Esports to potentially lock themselves into Championship Sunday of 2025 LAIC in São Paulo, Brazil. We see once again the Gossifleur going onto the central to guarantee the help, and in this case, that level 4 quickly for the Glaceon.
Yeah, not many things changing on the side of Plaga. We talked about all the shifts on Tuzzy Esports side, but it will be a few player swaps on Pokemon. Donlux on the Pikachu this time around, so I imagine we are going to be looking at a Donlux with the Thunder build. Would be more likely to be.
Makes sense to me. 3-on-2 there on the top side, and because it is a little bit different than your usual top that was played by Tuzzy in the previous games, you are maybe, oh, all right, Foul coming in through 3v3, just with the, just the bullet seed.
Yeah, Fulb with that Venusaur, the Ivysaur at the moment with some early pressure. We do see the first move locked in of the Sludge Bomb for this Ivysaur. So we are looking at a Venusaur. Early damage race is going to benefit Froy in a major way. They found the War Turtle evolution. Dawnlux lands the web, but Electro Ball's the other target. And unfortunately, that will be no execute for Plaga.
Ooh, Dawnlux actually takes them down with the Electro Ball, as you were mentioning, but also gets taken by the other electric type. Miraidon will confirm that one. Yet another, actually, to the Clefairy. And Lau, look at the healing pulse. Are you escaping? No, you're not.
Yeah.
The slow demise.
Yeah, with that pollen puff sticking to you, it's a little bit of a fluffy time bomb that you got to deal with, and not in the fun way. So we're gonna have
That
Squobet
anytime
move back.
good fun way about time bombs.
Oh, fluffy ones, yeah.
Fluffy
All
ones?
right.
Okay, cool.
We got the Greedent evolution from Max, so we are going to unlock the Covet moveset, so it can be a lot of movement and, of course, a lot of disruption available. This has been sort of the sleeper carry of this matchup so far. I feel like we haven't seen a whole lot of game-changing moments from the Greedent, but everything always seems to start with the Greedent.
Yeah, I would say so, because to be honest, I think we've seen quite a lot of whiffs on the Berry Valley flop.
Yeah.
But still, usually when you have Covet, when you have Belch, you're still going to be very relevant. Topside though, just as I say that, we have a 1-for-1 trade with a 2 KO streak going to the Venusaur. And although you have a couple of points on the side for Plaga, we also know that much of the EXP is on the hands of Tuzzy with a level 7 Venusaur.
Yeah, that's true. All right, lower third is right. Chat, let us know what team you want to make it into day number 3. And I guarantee the in-house crowd will be letting us know with as this match progresses when we get closer to that Rayquaza, I tell you. But first objectives are going to be up first, as the Regieleki seems to be the favor of both of these teams. It'll be 2 players from Tuzzy Esports on the bottom side, but look at this, the Miraidon rotating towards the top side, but with a very slow rotation.
Rotating to the top side, as you said, but the numbers are looking mighty good for Plaga, but they're trying to push in. They have the beam to potentially steal this one, but the Electro Ball will be there with the Glaceon as well, and Jax will confirm the objective. Going onto the backline is the Umbreon, and Kira is feeling very much comfortable. The Ice Skull Shard is not going to take the Clefairy, so the Moonlight is still available. The Regieleki, though, it does collapse, so some of those goals go to the Pikachu. They get just a little bit more, but it's going to be just the last bit of this push, as Kira is most likely not going to survive. Yeah,
the unfortunate Regieleki hitting makes us a little bit different, but so far Tuzzy Esports absolutely crushing it. Fulb with a Sludge Bomb hit 3 targets, which means the special defense of all those Pokemon were reduced, meaning Slowbro, Venusaur, Miraidon all doing amplified damage, meant that Plaga really didn't have a chance in that team fight. Now they're going to swing back the other way though. Eldegoss strikes first, and the Glaceon with their Unite move, Glacial Stage, hurting real bad into Tuzzy Esports.
Yes, it is, but look at that snipe once again coming from the Venusaur, and Fulb is now down themselves while the side of Plaga is defending this top tier 1. Maybe Tuzzy Esports went a little too deep, and that might just be the case. Lel is just like, okay, I guess I'm EXP, and they're going to follow me in this game in particular.
Yeah, that was a lot of Unite moves used as well, and reminder, we still have a basement Reggie that is untouched up into this moment. So the Regieleki utilized by Plaga to get that top goal zone, but yeah, poor Lel at least has follow me this time and is able to dive away with a little bit of move speed as they make it back down to the bottom side of the map, which, I mean, so far these teams not showcasing any favor towards this buff.
Yeah, not interested in the slightest. In the bot side here, we already have the attackers for Tuzzy. On the side of Plaga as well, Glaceon, the Pikachu. They're going to start with a Burden Anger. Look at that Pikachu with a slow beam to completely neutralize, but the eject button away will save them for the moment. And that is a Clefable down themselves, but the damage still runs from Fulb, and they can just try to push them out. The Snowcloak is going to be disabled for the moment, and when you have that Miraidon close by, you can still zone them out.
I cannot believe they didn't go down there. Slow Beam and Venusaur, that is so many resources forced out. Air eject button backwards by Fulb, has to go and hide within their team, but the backline is there for the Umbreon, as there is a huge play from Kira to knock down a couple of targets. But now it's Max's joining during the fight, and that Greedent has got a KO streak at 2, most likely going to go up to a 3, but Miraidon going to take that away. Finally, a big push by Tuzzy Esports. Hydro Typhoon to respond. All it's going to do, though, is buy some time.
Yeah, it buys just a little bit for the moment because Tuzzy played that fight so incredibly well on the bot side zones because of the Meteor Storm coming out by Jandeko. The impact was just huge. They can defend this one, don't overextend, and again, nobody's really touched Regirock just until this point, and Plaga is going to take that one for themselves while Tuzzy is just trying to go for one step ahead.
Yeah, with Fall going down in the early moments of that fight on the Venusaur, most likely because they used that double Unite move engagement on Pikachu and got nothing, they unfortunately could not have the staying power in that team fight to force their edge. Even despite Max's amazing efforts on the green, and they just didn't have the toolkit to really do the job. But great scoring pressure all of a sudden from Tuzzy Esports. They get a big dunk in from the Venusaur on top side, and Max threatens 48 as well. Good rotation by Glaceon to be able to shut that down.
Going to the bot side, Fable in a bad position, but this Follow Me Moonlight build has been able to tank a little bit, but in this case, not just enough. Look at the backup that actually comes out with the Gvardeninger as well, and the beam, but it's going to be completely dodged by that scoring animation. The Cotton Cloud Crash will go in as well, and it doesn't look good for Tuzzy, while Plaga, he's just feeling great in this push. But on this bottom side of the map, that was still greeted really, really healthy for the longest time, but Tuzzy can still come back when they have the rest of their allies to cover them up.
Texas has been put in such an impossible situation. They're forced to be everywhere with this Eldegoss healing, and they simply can't, as Bulb putting up more KOs on the board as well. Venusaur absolutely crushing it. The poison damage onto the Umbreon will reduce its special defense, and that's what Jandeko trying to take full advantage of it.
And they do it really, really well. Now they can just move on to the top side, take that LAIC because it's still 30 seconds for Rayquaza. But it just looks like they're going to go for what you would expect with a wild Pokemon, recharging your gauges. You just use your Verdenaga, you gotta have it back, Falb.
Yeah, Venusaur needs its Unite move back because what's about to happen, a final stretch. Right now, Tuzzy Esports at 2-0 for Plaga to stay in this tournament and try to make a run for Championship Sunday. They will need to win this game and stop Tuzzy in their tracks. But so far, this immovable object has shown no signs of slowing. Big push, that's a green and engage, so.
Yes, it is, and they're going very, very deep with the Meteor Storm as well, and the damage that can come back from the Jandeko's charge beam. But Plaga still standing strong. You have the healing with the Eldegoss, and the slow beam goes on to them, and they can still remain for a little bit, but the knockup is huge with the Hydro Typhoon for the side of Plaga. Tuzzy Esports is collapsing at the seams, but are they though? No, they still looking mighty good, and it's only the Pikachu who's standing, and there is nothing that cannot move this object. Tuzzy Esports is your unstoppable force.
Unreal engage from Tuzzy Esports. Things get a little crazy. They're not able to knock out that Blastoise despite so many resources going into them, but it does not matter. Max's Greedent comes up clutch in one of the biggest moments we've seen in this tournament. That Berry Belly flop hits so many targets. Huge knockup. Now, we have a minute left on this matchup. That is one Rayquaza shield broken, and the lead is still in the hands of Plaga. A minute left and one Ray shield down. Maridon also not able to score. This is getting dangerous for Tuzzy.
It really is, and now the defense coming out by Plaga is
gonna get
standing. Oh my word! This is not.
Unfortunately.
Oh my word. Okay, thank you so much for your patience. This is keeping everybody at the edge of their seats.
Yeah, it's a difficult position, and right now I actually think it's favoring Plaga. They were able to break a couple of Rayquaza shields already and force a very tough situation. Lel had the Rayquaza shield, but hiding in that L bush because of the jump pad play does reveal where they are. So it's going to be very difficult for Lel to arrive at a goal zone and still have Eos energy to try to dunk. So unfortunately, once we get this tech pause sorted out, we will be jumping back into the match. So far, it looks like our teams are ready to go. So hopefully it'll be a very quick pause, but this is going to be a very interesting end game. Reminder, Plaga needs to win this game to stop Tuzzy Esports as they have the 2-0 advantage right now. Brazil in the lead, and we are going to be jumping back into the game. 1 minute remains.
The action is on your screen. The shield is there for Lel as they're trying to score the Hundo Burger, going on with the X speed and the Moonlight, but I don't think they're going to be able to get there.
No.
Here's the Eldegoss on the top side, though. They managed to take it.
It's
at 100. It's 289 to 224. If they can continue defending on the 30 seconds, because you see a push on the bottom of your screen. It's Glacial Stage with Dunlocks, and you're looking at them trying their best to stop Brazil. But can Brazil be stopped on that tracks? They're still moves, 15 seconds to go.
This is the final chance for Plaga to bring this series back into favor for them. Lyle shuts down the first defense. Jump pad defenses are back. Blastoise attempting to score. That's 30 points on the top side. It's going to become incredibly close. Pikachu scores 8 as well. Small scores going in. Brazil, can they hold on to this lead? More scoring attempts. We have to wait until the final tracker.
It looks to be incredibly close, but I do believe that it was still enough on the side of Tuzzy. Let's wait for it. The camera is showing us. It is giving us